Hi and welcome back to a new video. Today's video will be about laptops, especially my personal preference and what I'm using daily and something I just want to try out. So for me, in my daily life, when I'm working at Grizzly, I would say from 8 to 10 hours a day, I'm working on a laptop. Specifically this Lenovo P14S that I configured myself. I'm really happy with this one. I have been using it for like 1.5 years now. It suffered a little bit, has a ton of scratches on it, and yeah, but it's still working very nice. And the hardware inside is an Intel 1370p, so it's a quite recent CPU with a 6P 8E cores, has 64 GB of memory, and also a dedicated NVIDIA RTX A500, which is not the strongest GPU, but it's definitely suitable for basic CAD stuff, especially considering how small this laptop is. And what was also very important for me was the display, because this one has 2880 by 1800 pixel, so it's a very high pixel density, also good brightness, and it's a matte display, so no glare. I'm not a fan of that. So this has everything I was asking for, and yeah, still very happy with this one. The only thing I'm thinking of from time to time is if I should use like a secondary stationary screen or like an external display I can use just for working, for extending, watching at more files, Excel sheets, whatever. And then I recently came across a notebook that has 2 screens. And I was wondering if that is something suitable for working with. And that's what we will check out in today's video. You surely saw the Seasonic MagFlow fans in one of my videos before. Seasonic also offers them in an ARGB version. With a different fan blade design, RGB inside the frame and also subtle RGB in the center, these fans focus on both design and performance. The MagFlow ARGB are also daisy chainable and can easily be expanded and connected by the integrated magnets that couple the fans without additional clips or tools. Seasonic also includes a small RGB controller if you want to avoid annoying software issues. Find out more in the link below. And here it is, Acemagic X1. Hardware-wise, it is quite a bit far away from my P14S, so there is no way I would use this as a daily notebook for me. I was not that interested in the specs in general. It was just more about the dual screen solution, how they did it, and if that's something that could be useful for a working environment, because it's using an Intel 1255U, so it's 1 generation older than my current laptop. Also only 16 GB of memory, which is a fourth of what I'm using. 1 TB SSD is fine, but yeah, not too much. But as I said before, I'm not so much interested in the hardware specs themselves, but more about the dual screen resolution or the dual screen solution. I knew Acemagic as a brand, but I think mainly from a lot of those mini PCs, but not from laptops. The first impression, at least just touching, seems like an aluminum case. Not even too bad. That is something I haven't seen before. I first thought they have like a spare keyboard included, but it's like pieces of rubber with different languages. So this one is German. That one, not quite sure. Is it like Spanish or something like that? Interesting. That's interesting. So they recommend not to connect it to Wi-Fi or Ethernet to save some time for setup. Interesting. And also they seem to have WhatsApp customer support. Maybe we will test that. There is already one interesting aspect, and that is how the screen will not touch the keyboard. That is a problem for me, or has always been a problem with those Lenovo notebooks. I'm not sure if you can maybe see it a little bit in the reflection, but the screen will always touch part of the keyboard, or like especially I think this bar right here, separating the touchpad and the keyboard, and you will always have some kind of imprint on the screen, like tiny scratches caused by the keyboard or some other part of the notebook, because you close it and it's pressed on. And that's something that you just can't avoid with these things. That's always annoying, and after a longer time you will always have those marks on the screen. That is something that definitely wouldn't happen here. Like the screen is always protected by the second screen. Yeah, so 2 screens. I think I have to charge it, power it up, and see how this is. It is working, so I will have to set it up for me. One thing I noticed, I'm not quite sure why they did this, so there is a small cutout on here that says, "Stay hungry, stay foolish." For what? Kind of ruins the pretty classic look, I would say, or like subtle look of this notebook. Now before I will even plug a USB drive in there or connect it to the Wi-Fi, I first have to check if there's anything unwanted on there, because Acemagic had this big scandal at the beginning of this year where they had basically virus or malware shipped with mini PCs. And then I think from at least my perspective also the same kind of scandal is how they handled it, which was really poor. And this video is not supposed to be advertising for Acemagic. If you're thinking to buy a product from them, you should think about it again. And then think about it again and then probably not do it. So I want to make this really clear. I just want to check, for me personally, how it is to work with the notebook with 2 screens, but I don't want to promote this brand, like not at all. They also have some very sketchy and garbage articles on their website. So if you check, for example, this one is pretty brilliant. How to test your CPU for damage and identify faulty cores. And they are writing about that you have to regularly check your CPU to see if cores are bad, to test your CPU for damage. And then like I don't even know, like they tell that the most common sign of a problematic CPU is a noticeable decrease in system speed. Like, no, if your CPU is bad, like if your core is dead, it's dead. It won't boot. It just, you will have blue screen right away or just won't boot at all. So they have a ton of like garbage stuff on here. And then what I find also quite cool, what to do if you find bad CPU cores, troubleshooting, update BIOS. So if your CPU is dead, then maybe consider updating BIOS. So, and then FAQ is also a highlight. How to know if CPU is bad, how to tell if your CPU is bad, how to check CPU, which is all kind of the same. Not sure. Going back to the virus and malware thing, so if you just type malware into the search of the website, you just can't find anything. Virus also doesn't lead, well, it tells me 6 results, but there are no results. To me, you know, it's like not transparent, it's just hiding everything. At least over Google, you can still find this FAQ where they at least talk about the virus incident, and then there is the link to the recent press release. That just doesn't exist anymore, so they just deleted that. At least the notebook seems to be clean though. I also noticed setting this up that this is one of the notebooks where if it's connected to the PSU and charging, I can feel, I'm not sure how to describe it, but I can feel some voltage, some current flowing to my fingers. I can basically feel the 50 hertz of the power supply to my hands. And that's something that's not really uncommon for notebooks with a metal case. I think I already experienced this with some, I think it was a MacBook, an older one. So it's not that uncommon, but it's not pleasant. But I think it's more related to the PSU. But if you have insights, information about that, please let me know. It's also quite strange that I can see this flickering on the screen. I mean, I'm filming a lot, like different displays. You could just see footage of my like Lenovo notebook. You can't see flickering on the camera, but on this one, for whatever reason, it's pretty intense. Those are 60 hertz displays, and at least on the camera, the flickering is quite annoying, right? There are buttons on here, by the way, so if I press A, then it's only the main screen. B will only put display signal on the left one. Then the middle one is doing basically the dual screen mode. That is probably the most common then. And the right one would be just clone both screens. So at least that thing with the 4 buttons is pretty well executed. I just changed the included PSU to my Lenovo one because this one is like a triple contact cable, not sure how to say it, like it is grounded. It has a ground wire on it, while this included one doesn't have a ground wire. It's only the 2 pins. And with this, I can feel this current on the display of the notebook. And with this one, I don't. So it's definitely a PSU issue, really annoying with the included one. Just can't recommend this at all. I will finish setting up the notebook for me, and then I will simply test it over a couple of days to see how this is. You know, just touching this, you can see it's wobbling around a little bit. So I'm not so sure how it is on a daily basis when you use it, when you're typing. And that's something I will just test, take my time to do so. Because this is also not the first dual screen notebook that I'm using. There were like the ZenBook Pro Duo with the screen here. And then I had like, I think it was a Lenovo one where you had a foldable display that goes basically up here. I was never a fan of those concepts. But this one with a screen to the left or to the right, I think could be quite nice, but I'm still very skeptical. Meanwhile, 1 week later, I spent a lot of time, just testing this, seeing how this is, especially on a daily basis, working with it, just enjoying this on the couch maybe. And I found a lot of problems. And then I also asked Acemagic for a statement regarding all of the problems that I found. So we will go through all this in a second. First, we will start with the performance, which just by the nature of the CPU that's built in is not that high in the first place. We have the 1255U from Intel, which has 2 P-cores and 8 E-cores, and that alone is already a little bit weak. But yeah, the power configuration of the laptop itself is also pretty weak. That's a cool thing about the dual screen notebook. Enough space to put Cinebench on the left screen, and then we still have plenty of space for hardware info on the main screen. We are now launching Cinebench R23, and we will pay attention to the CPU package power draw in this graph. And you can see that it just starts high with about 35 watt under load, and after just a couple of seconds it drops down to just 15 watt. And I tried to measure, and it's maybe like 5, 6, 7 seconds. And the CPU will keep running exactly like that with just 15 watt under load. And it's wasting a lot of potential. You can see the CPU package temperature is not even exceeding 60 degrees Celsius. So there's a lot of thermal headroom that is just wasted and not used. And that is enough for just about 4,300 points in R23. The cool thing is that the BIOS is pretty much open, so you can adjust everything from PL1, PL2 and tau. That is definitely necessary. That's also what I asked Acemagic. What is the reason for this wasted performance of only 15 watt under load? And they said, if I'm not happy with the performance, I can adjust it myself in BIOS when it comes to PL1, PL2 and also tau. But it still leaves open the question why they are wasting so much performance or potential, which was not answered. But yeah, we can adjust it ourselves. In the BIOS, we can go to Advanced Power and Performance, CPU Power Management Control, configure TDP, and there we see why it's behaving the way it's behaving. Not sure why, but the power limit 1 is set to 0, power limit 2 to 35 watt, and the time window also to 0, which then on the right side tells me that 0 equals 8 seconds under load. That's exactly what we saw and why the notebook is just behaving the way it is. And I now adjusted the power limit and especially the time window, that the power limit 2 of 45 watt can now be as long as 128 seconds under load. And now if we run R23 again with the adjusted power limit of 34 and 45, you will see that the CPU can maintain the higher power draw a lot longer. And you will see it also is throttling, but it's not really a problem for the CPU because that's just what notebooks do. They will adapt, they will throttle down a little bit to keep as high package power draw as possible to just get the max performance out of it. And there we see about 8,500 points, so almost double the performance. I think Acemagic wasted a lot of potential and performance here. If you consider that stock performance with 4,300 points is roughly on the level of a 4770K that is like 11, 12 years old. That's not something I would expect from a 2024 laptop. And with our adjustment of PL1, PL2 and tau, we can get in the region of a 9700K. It's basically double the performance of about 8,300 points. And yeah, so stock doesn't really align with the claims on the website of strong power or like powerful performance isn't really in line for me. So a lot of wasted potential and probably not properly tested. One thing I noticed, and I'm not sure if you could hear it or can hear it now, it's also something I can constantly hear while shooting this video, but I will just show it. They have a very annoying, like ramping up and ramping down fan control. Doesn't seem necessary to me. I'm not sure why it's doing that. Like every 10, 15, 20 seconds, the fan is ramping up and down. And that is also something I could see in other reviews that are multiple weeks old. And it seems not to be fixed. So again, I asked Acemagic about a statement for this. And the statement said the following: fan control and BIOS updates. Currently, there are no updates for fan control. We are aware of the fan ramping behavior during idle and are looking into potential improvements. As for BIOS updates, we currently don't have any new updates, but we are always working on improvements. I'm not sure if there will ever be an update. Personally, I wouldn't expect it because there is not even a download section on the website, so you couldn't even download the current version, and I wouldn't expect any updates for the future simply because this is a well-known issue for weeks and months and hasn't been fixed since. Now to the keyboard. I'm definitely not an expert when it comes to peripherals, but I can just subjectively tell you how it felt like and especially how it sounded like. Not that great. And I think, yeah, maybe just listen to a comparison between my Lenovo and the Acemagic X1. You could maybe hear what I mean, that if you compare it, it just sounds cheap. Like, I'm not sure, like empty inside or a little bit hollow, just a little bit weird. And as I showed you earlier, they included those rubber mats to kind of include different keyboard layouts. I think that's mainly because they probably just made small quantity and wanted to have a market as large as possible. So they included different kind of keyboard layouts. And as I told you, I'm not a peripheral expert, so I just consulted one. And here we have the report. Well, yeah. Well, luckily, I also received a video file. As you could see in the video, it's not really durable. It failed quite easily, so if you pull it, it can come apart quite quickly and it doesn't feel nice. It just doesn't feel high quality. I think it is somewhat of a workaround to still maintain some kind of support for a different language, but it just doesn't feel nice. If you press down on a button, you can feel that there is something on top, and like you can feel it on the button right next to it that it's moving a little bit. It's, yeah, I guess it's somewhat of a workaround for a different language, but I wouldn't recommend it. Now to the main aspect of the Acemagic X1, and that is the dual screen solution, which I definitely like. I tested this for about a week. I spent a lot of time just sitting on the couch at home, for example, in this configuration, and then also working with it, opened it, and I opened, for example, Excel on the main screen, had Discord on the secondary one, and all of this worked always quite nicely. Also, the mechanism itself is pretty awesome. The way you open it, and it just stays in place no matter in which weird angle. Seems to be very reliable. At least I also, for fun, opened and closed this at least 100 times to see if it just wears out or anything like that. Wasn't the case. It was still as good as on opening it the first time, which I think is pretty nice. The problem is more about the displays themselves and the quality of them. I asked Acemagic about more details on that, and they just told me that it's full HD IPS, which was kind of obvious, but I was hoping for more stuff like, you know, viewing angle, max brightness, I don't know, color depth, whatever, but I didn't get any information on that. And especially viewing angle is odd. It just is weird. And I'm not sure why this one is always causing flickering on the camera. That is something I never had reviewing any other notebook, at least a recent one. And also the max brightness is by far not enough. Especially if I compare it to my Lenovo, this feels like half as bright. And considering that this is meant to be for a working environment, which usually also means that you're maybe sitting in a meeting room that can be bright, or you're sitting in a train where you might have sun coming in from outside, the max brightness of these screens is by far not enough. The only good thing is the mechanism. The mechanism is really awesome. Acemagic also told me that they tested this 20,000 times for reliability, which seems to be possible, I'm not sure, but at least from my testing, seems to be very reliable. I'm not sure how exactly they did it. They have like 3 rods and they're connected with yeah, an interesting mechanism, but it works. The only downside is that the mechanism is connected to a useless laptop and pretty much useless screens. That is unfortunate. However, they managed to have those buttons on there that are also pretty cool. So the fact that you can have it on the main screen, secondary screen, you can mirror it, you can flip it, like all of this can be done with these buttons, and the functionality is good, it works very well. Just unfortunate that the rest is not great. I asked Acemagic on a statement regarding the PSU and the current that I could feel on the case, and they said that this is quite normal, quite common, and not really a health risk, which might be true, but especially when you know about it, you should maybe avoid it. I personally really hate this. It just doesn't feel nice. It's very uncomfortable, and especially if you know about it, you should maybe not do it. So yeah, just try always to use grounded PSUs to fully avoid this annoying behavior. On the backside, we can find a QR code with the text "Scan and Join." No additional information, which is already a bit questionable. So I scanned it. This will get us to a link that is redirected multiple times, and then we are at vip.melison.co. Join our VIP list. We appreciate your most recent purchase and hope you will enjoy your new items. Join our VIP club and get a chance to win 12 months warranty extension and the newest product. On the front, you might remember that there was also a QR code for their customer support. So I reached out to their customer support on WhatsApp and asked, so, you know, what is this? And the link, it doesn't look like Acemagic website. And they said, it is our official website. Did you buy the PC from Amazon? I said, so what exactly is it? The link is our official website, also sells mini PC and laptop. And then I asked, what is the VIP program? And asks me to enter email and name. And I said, actually, you can ignore it if you don't want to buy another PC. At least the customer support suddenly doesn't mention anything about 12 months warranty extension, that I should maybe register for that, or about some kind of giveaway that is going on. So again, I reached out to Acemagic and asked them for a statement. And they told me, as for the VIP program, it's a special initiative for our loyal customers. Those who will join will receive early notifications about new products and exclusive early bird pricing. Again, no mention of any kind of 12 months warranty extension or some sort of giveaway that is going on. No detail about that. That is very questionable and, at least from my side, not trustworthy at all. And talking about not trustworthy, I also asked them about what is going on with how they are handling the entire malware virus thing. And I also asked them for a statement regarding that, because as you could see earlier in the video, nothing of that is still left on the website. Everything seems to be deleted. All the old statements, everything is gone. In the statement, Acemagic basically told me that it wasn't a virus in the first place and that it was just a script. And they had to whitelist this in Windows Defender, and that's why it's no longer an issue, because it's no longer detected. And also, they said, we have communicated with customers, and as part of our ongoing commitment to transparency, we are releasing new products to show our continued improvement. In my opinion, it's everything else but transparent, especially if this was true and it was just a script and not even a virus. Wouldn't it be obvious to just make a statement about that and say, hey, it wasn't a virus, it's just a script, you don't have to worry. But instead, they just deleted everything and there's nothing no longer existing. So it just seems like they're trying to hide it and pretend it never happened. That's not transparency for me. And if I had any trust left, it would be gone in this situation. So not trustworthy at all from my point of view. The conclusion is pretty simple. It is an awesome concept. And unfortunately, this concept is stuck to a device that's not great, that I just can't recommend. If you look at the performance, this 900 euro laptop performs similar to something that costs 500 to 600 euro. You can definitely justify a good price uplift just because of the mechanism and the dual screen solution. That's something I could live with, but the quality overall of the device, and especially Acemagic as a company, is something I would personally avoid, at least in the current state. From their behavior, I hope they just improve this for the future, because they promise transparency and blah blah, but you can see there is no transparency at all. They just try to hide everything. There's a lot of other stuff I didn't talk about in the video that it's not clear. Like in the FAQ, they're mentioning how to replace memory and SSD. The memory is soldered on. There's nothing you can replace, obviously. And also, for example, that it's always listing that there's only 12 devices left to buy. And this has been the case for like 3 months. It's always listing there's only 12 devices left to buy. And in the meantime, there are also like, customer reviews that popped up on the website. So either, I'm not sure they faked the customer reviews, or I would expect that it's only 12 units left is more this fear of missing out thing. And they're trying to push you to purchase because it's only 12 units left. I'm not sure either they just didn't sell anything for 3 months, or yeah, the shop just is giving you wrong information, which would probably align with their other behavior. Just can't recommend it. I hope that some other company, or either I hope that Acemagic gets their shit together and improves for the future, makes a better laptop, and just is more transparent, which I doubt they will be. But maybe some other brand or company will pick up this mechanism or this concept and put it onto something useful, like Dell, HP, Lenovo, Asus, whatever. I would be happy to buy that. Like if a Lenovo would exist with this would be absolutely amazing. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. See you next time. Bye-bye.